We are live on YouTube with three chicks walked into a bar. Obviously, we've got
Hi,
Holly and Nora, and
everybody.
I'm here.
Hey. Do you know what I was thinking? Because we're going to be talking
I'm
about
live
food
on
today.
YouTube with three chicks walked
Oh
into
my
a
god!
bar myself.
We always have this little. We always have this little echo going on. I was going to say it's really clever because we're in three continents. We're at breakfast time, lunchtime, and dinner time, kind of, which is quite cool. I didn't think of that, till just now. So people are going to be excited because we promised that we would come and share like a day's eating from all of us three in our three different places with our three different lifestyles, three different perspectives. So, it's really cool because it's going to give people a chance to see different ways of eating and what suits them best. So, yeah, like, can you guys speak to that? I mean, there's so many different things. Like you do intermittent fasting, Nora, sometimes, huh?
Yeah, well, I live intermittent fasting, but and I recommend it to most of my clients. But yeah, I think it's awesome that we're doing this because to my clients, they don't specifically follow any I give them macros and stuff, but really it's understanding where they're coming from and what their comfortability zone is, and then gradually finding a system that works for them, whether that's low carb, whether that's high carb, whether that's keto, whether that's paleo. But I think that it has to be something, and I hope that most people watching understand this. It has to be something that is going to become part of your lifestyle and fits in with ease. Not that I'm saying like, we've all done our share of competitions. That's a totally different, like, and you guys will see with Holly, this is her job. This is like what she does. So I think it's cool to see that because we've all been through that. But we wanted to speak to all different kinds of people.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that's important to understand is I believe that all three of us, although we have very different eating styles and eating habits, we all share a very similar philosophy that in order to have that physical transformation, you do have to be working on your mindset. So I hope today that this shows some of you that it doesn't really matter how you eat as long as it is sustainable for you and as long as you're not ignoring the mindset. And obviously we move our bodies too, so that helps.
Yeah,
Just a
100%.
little bit, right?
Totally.
So should I go
Ah,
first? Because
Yes.
mine's like the most strict regime.
Oh,
So
up into it.
oh yeah. So when I work with my clients, sorry about this light. It's crazy, isn't it? It's maybe a little bit too light. As long as you can see the things I'm showing you. When I work with my clients, I give them macros and we track macros, and that's your carbs, proteins, and fats. And what's really cool about working with a coach is most people can start with a base template. Maybe it's based on their body weight, based on their goals, based on what they're eating now and whether they want to come down or up. But working with a coach means it gets tweaked and adjusted over time in line with you. So in line with how your body's changing or what's going on in your life. Like maybe you're going on holiday, so you don't want to have to track macros this week. Okay, fine. So then it gets tweaked when you come back. Maybe you want to have your cardio changed up in line with your goals. So when you work with a coach, it's really useful because they are helping you. So that's how I help my clients with their goals. And then for me, because my number one priority is competing, and ever since I started in 2017, half of my year is trying to grow. And I only did that properly for the first time last year. And then half of my year is cutting down the fat to show what muscle I've built and to reveal it. So, if we're interested in really changing the composition of our bodies, and we really want to be able to raise our metabolism, we want to have more muscle mass on our body and less fat mass. And we all agree with this. And what's really cool? I was saying to someone today, even if someone's super, super skinny, if they've never really trained or looked at how they eat, they can be more fat mass than muscle mass. But they might be really skinny and not have a lot of fat, but there's still more fat mass than muscle mass, and you can still change the composition of their bodies completely, which I just find fascinating. And the whole idea is then you can eat more food, because the more muscle you carry on your body, the more energy that you're burning just sitting still doing nothing, which is, I just love that. So for me, my coach does a meal plan for me because we're specific about competing. So I don't do that with my clients for two reasons. One, I want them to learn about foods and what's in foods so that they can make their own choices when they're eating out, eating on the go. They know what fats, proteins, and carbs are. And also because most people don't want to eat like a monk like I do. It's really rare to eat the same stuff every day like I do. And also because not everybody likes the same stuff. So I think it can be, it wouldn't really work. You end up needing to do your own choices anyway. But I eat the same stuff every day. So up until now, because I'm 10 weeks out, look at my crazy hair. I'm 10 weeks out from my competition today. So up until now, because I started a nice slow prep, because believe it or not, I'm quite a little chubster. Like, I love my food, and I have, even though I look small, I have a lot of fat to lose for my class because I have to be really ripped on stage, which means really, really low fat levels. And I like to have like lines in my legs so I can see all the muscles and stuff like that. So we do it slowly because I don't want to lose my muscle. That's the whole point. So up until now, I've been having some carbs, but literally just as of yesterday, I'm fully ketogenic now, which is, but it's a special ketogenic diet that I always do every year, which my coach Dave Palumbo is famous for. It's his own diet. Very special because the fat sources are only certain fats. So like a normal person doing a ketogenic diet, that means they're taking their fuel completely from fats, not carbs. I'm talking to the audience here, not you guys. I know you guys know what this is. But so like 75% or 65% of their food wheel would be from fats for fuel, and they could have anything like dairy and lots of different, cream and cheese and all of this. But for me, I only have monounsaturated fats, so they're quite limited. So that would be like my cashew nuts that I've got here. You can probably just about see. I've got my crunchy peanut butter, which I love. That's my favorite. I have that with protein shake, usually a tablespoon of that. You've got to be careful because this is addictive and you can eat too much of it easily. My other fat fuel source that I really love is macadamia nut oil. It's quite hard to get. I think it's actually indigenous to South Africa. But my coach has his own brand called Species Nutrition, which I've always used, and they do their own mac oil. So I buy that, have a tablespoon of that. You can have that over salad or whatever, or olive oil. All my eggs are here. Literally, I buy them by the punnet. I would cry if I dropped them. That would be so bad. So, the egg is got a fat source in it as well because the egg yolk is fat. So one of my meals would be 2 eggs and then 3 egg whites. So the egg whites being just the protein and the yolks being the fat there. So the way I do it is I have 2 days that are protein and fats, and then I have 1 day which is protein and veggie. So that is a tough day. So the only carbs that I'm getting are from the vegetables. This is very extreme way of eating, guys. This is literally for a short time in the build up to a stage. This is not something that I would recommend anyone to do. And honestly, you have to be very mentally strong to do it anyway, because it's tough. But the theory is that you have to go so low on carbohydrates to compete on stage that it's actually kinder to your blood sugar levels to just remove them completely and get the brain to take its fuel from fats instead, because ketosis means brain. And the brain's favorite fuel is carbohydrates, sugar, so addictive, right? So instead of just giving it little bits that make your blood go up and down and up and down, the theory is you just take it away, go into ketosis, which takes about 72 hours, which incidentally is about how long it takes for a crack addict to come down off crack cocaine. So it's a very similar brain transition to transition your fuel source as it is to come down off of drugs. So that's really how addictive sugar is. It's kind of like the white cocaine of the food industry, you know. It has its place in life, but it's interesting how addictive it is. So I am in ketosis now, which means I actually stay under about 20 grams of carbs a day, which is incredibly low and very not what the normal person would do. And my fat sources are limited too. So I kind of operate on a very low fuel source. So what generally happens in the past is that I would have a treat meal once a week, which would usually be a McDonald's cheeseburger and fries, because it's very fatty and it kind of builds up my thyroid hormone, which has got quite depleted. But the whole point of working with a coach is that you're checking in on a regular basis, and maybe I need some carbs, maybe I'm looking flat. And then the day before show day, I'm going to carb up with a big meal. And having been so depleted of fats and carbs, my muscles will grab the glycogen and just look really full on stage. And because my fat levels are so low, you're just going to see them, you know, bust through. And that's how it kind of works. So I guess some of the choices of things that I wanted just to show you when I'm dieting for a show is I use a lot of albacore tuna, which is like in little glass. It's kind of a bit more exciting.
I love that. I've never seen that.
It's really he doesn't like me to have like the tin tuna just for the, I think this is healthier. It has less metal in it, you know. And you can have it, this one is just in spring water, but you can get them in like olive oil and stuff like that. A little bit more expensive.
Never seen that. Jenny, have you seen that?
No, I feel like that's got to be a UK thing.
No, guys.
I wish this was like a grab and go podcast.
Yeah.
I know. You guys, they do it in America because my posing coach Sheila eats the same way as me, and she was saying she buys this stuff.
I bet you can find it in one of those little boutique grocers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's probably like $20 a jar.
Right.
That's fine.
It's so expensive. It's really annoying, but yeah, hand prepared tuna fillets. And you know, it's kind of like more meaty, kind of like a steak, so it's actually like texturally nicer than your usual albacore tuna. When I can have my carbs, then I've got like I use white rice, because actually it turns into sugar a little bit quicker, so it just gives you that burst of energy a little bit quicker than the brown rice is a bit slower. So that's what I do. I got my good old sweet potatoes when I'm allowed to have these. Off season, I'm bulking, so it's all about the carbs off season. So I make up for it off season, you know. Like I'm a foodie. I love my food. I have my jumbo oats. I'm a real fan of these. You know, I'll make a porridge out of these. Some people like to put protein powder in with the oats, but I don't like the texture, so I'd rather have it separate. But you can put fruit, you know, blueberries are great. And interestingly, I don't know if you guys already know this, watermelon is a natural source of nitric oxide, which is great pump for your muscles.
I didn't know that.
I did not.
So it's kind of cool to have some, it's definitely watermelon. It's cool to have some watermelon.
Well, I'm going to bring some watermelon on the boat with me today.
Yeah, and you're going to be like pumped because you got your little watermelon pump going on.
We'll be watching your story, Jen. I want to see the
and I guess just a few of my favorites is because I don't have any sugar really now at all, but what I would have off season is stevia. You guys probably have that over there. Yeah. It's like a natural sugar that's really 0 calories, which is cool. And in keeping with that, I live off these. Honestly, this is my vice because I can't have anything exciting. This is green cola. Do you guys have green cola over there?
Probably.
Okay, so it's Diet Coke, but it's made with stevia instead of aspartame. So
I don't know about that.
Oh my God, you need it. You need it.
Yeah.
I would never buy it because it looks weird
Oh,
to me. But
oh, okay.
now that I
Well,
know what it is,
Yeah.
now I'm
it's
going to
because
give my husband a list.
Yeah, totally.
100%. I recommend this to all my clients. So each can is just 2 calories.
Mhm.
It's like 0.8. It's 0 carb. It's like 0.8 salt or something like that. So normally diet drinks are made with aspartame, which some people say is like not good for your
Right.
pineal gland and it's a bit toxic. But this is made with stevia instead. So I 100% recommend it, and it's like no calories. So just
Wow.
feels
Very
like sugar because it's really sweet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love my herbal tea. I'm a big fan of yogi tea. The reason I love these is because each tea bag has like a little quotation, a Buddha saying on it, like a little,
Yeah.
like the bit that sticks out. Do you know what I mean? So I love those. And oh, rice cakes. Everybody going into a show just before they go on stage, they're all eating rice cakes and peanut butter because really good carbs, like 7 grams of carbs a rice cake, and you got your peanut butter fats. Oh, I'm excited to show you these. Oh, and a few more things I just wanted to show you. So my staples is like apple cider vinegar. Do you guys use that?
Mhm.
Like I always use apple cider vinegar, and my pink Himalayan salt,
Mhm.
and my sea salt as well, because some people say that the white salt has more iodine in it.
Yep.
So I don't know how important that is, but I like to mix it up just in case that I don't want to miss anything. and yeah, just if I'm off season, I'll take my creatine. I use my Species protein powder 100% of the time. And I have a vast array
I see that.
of supplements up there, but I don't use them as supplements. I use them as instead of, because when I'm dieting, I don't eat any fruit because of my carb levels being so low. But these are very strong vitamins and minerals, so I have to use them as a replacement to make sure I get enough. I take my D3 as well. So yeah, that's kind of what my day consists of, is everything that you see here, and then we just tinker about with it if I look like I need some carbs or something like that. So
You're a strong ass woman, Harley.
Yeah, awesome.
it is, but let me just say, I'm going to say this now because I have never felt so well. Up until last year, I would always eat like a lot of chocolate and cake and everything off season because I felt like I had to make up for it, right?
Mhm.
And it was only until last year that I cut out sugar completely, okay? And I'll tell you these things is your palate goes really basic. And then now I've become like a posh chocolate person.
Yeah.
So if I eat normal chocolate, like it tastes like rubbish to me because I taste what it really is, really sugary. So I actually, if I'm going to have it, I want to have the really dark chocolate, or like the like organic, like non-dairy cocoa ones. They make like bougie, these type of things. Now I prefer the taste of these kind of things because my palate's changed completely. And I'm way more, my personality is much more stable because I'm not getting ups and downs,
Right.
which I used to get
big,
a lot, and I couldn't make good decisions. I had like a foggy brain. And it's just interesting perspective to consider it, but it does mean that you have to be very strong. Like I still want to go out and see my friends, and luckily I have friends that are also prepping. I met them for coffee today. We're all sat there with our coffees, or one's like, it is kind of like it is. But if I'm meeting people that just eat normal and go out and have cake and stuff, I'll bring stuff with me, and I'm just very like, this is what I do. I live for this, and actually people accept it, which I think is nice, because you should always do what you want to do, right? And you should never feel like, if I had a client that texted me today, she wore a crop top out in public for the first time because she's looking amazing. She's never had a body like this before. And she said, I went to the shop and I wore a crop top and I've never done that in my life. And I'm 42. And I was like, that's cool. Who cares what people think? You should do that. And she was like, it's very liberating. So I always say, like, whatever's your thing, because you guys are going to share your things now, you know, people have to accept that's your thing, and you're true to that. And I think that's really important because it makes you happy, right? And that's,
Yeah.
And
you
the
know, as
most
long as you're
important
happy and you,
part is sustainability. So, you know, what's good for you and sustainable for you is going to be different than what's sustainable
yeah,
for me.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
So you guys go. So yeah, that was all my little spiel.
Cool. Laura, do you mind if I go? My house is quiet at the moment. So
No, go ahead.
what
Yeah.
about for
Mine
this
is
moment?
not quiet. I hope you guys can't hear it. My
Well,
house
you
is
probably-
definitely.
That's fine. No.
You'll probably see some children in the way, but that's okay. So I didn't prep all of my stuff to show you, but I have a few things to show you. And I want to be super upfront right now. I lived Holly's life for a couple of years, and for me, it led to some disordered eating. And I found that post-competition rebound and binge was just a little too much for me. So today I find myself eating more 60-40. And I want to just preface by saying, I know that that's very unconventional in the health and fitness industry. I know that there's judgment, and I just don't care because it works for me. And I do feel like I eat a lot of healthy food. 60-40 is still a lot of healthy food. So before I show you the food that I want to show you, I'm actually going to just share my screen with you guys. And I want to explain, I don't necessarily count my macros anymore. I eat very intuitively, but I put what I was eating today into my FitnessPal this morning just so I could see how close I got it with just winging it, with just eating intuitively. Because it's taken me, almost 3 years of prep style eating like Holly does, and then 5 years of counting macros, and I mean diligently weighing and measuring everything. And now I've just sporadically eat intuitively. And I found today when I put this information in my FitnessPal that I really hit the nail on the head. I got my macros almost perfect. So I want to show you guys what that looks like. And now I know that this is a lot of food, but I eat a lot of food. I have bulked and cut and bulked and cut. And as Holly was saying earlier, when you raise your base metabolic rate, you burn more calories. And I don't exercise 5 days a week anymore. I move my body a lot, but actual lifting weights once or twice or maybe 3 times a week. And I do a lot of yoga, and I'm very, very, very active in my lifestyle. So that being said, my maintenance calories is about 2,300. So I'm not eating to lose. I'm not eating to gain. I'm just eating to be. And I'm really happy and comfortable with where I am. So for starters, of course, I've got some coffee cream in my coffee.
Oh, yeah.
I choose the fat-free International Delight. I've tried other ones. I like that one. That's the one I'm going to always use. Sometimes I'll throw a protein powder in there, but today is a boat day in our family. So there's going to be lots of protein. I don't have to worry about that. Now, just like Nora said, I practice intermittent fasting sometimes. So I am definitely skipping breakfast today. It's only 9:30 a.m. for me right now. The first thing that I'm going to eat today is a snack on the boat, not lunch, but a snack. So what does my snack look like? Pepperoni sticks, cheese, crackers, watermelon, snap peas. It's a little bit of a mix, right? Like, yeah, there's nitrates in the deli meat, but I'm going to be so hard on the water today. I'm not concerned about that. I know that I eat enough fruits and vegetables to offset any downsides to the high nitrates in the deli meat and the pepperoni sticks, but that's convenient. And I'm a mom, and we're going to spend the day on the boat. So for those of you who go camping or have boat days and things like that, and you might be like, how the heck do I stay on track while doing that? Well, meat and cheese and crackers. Those are so, this is my daughter's phone. Excuse me.
Oh.
And then, so after my snack, we'll have a lunch, and I just made a whole bunch of sandwiches. I just grabbed, there's a lot of people going to be on this boat today, at least a dozen. So I just grabbed a dozen Kaisers. I grabbed a boatload of deli meat. All of these sandwiches have nothing but meat and cheese on them. And then I've got, from the deli, I've got those little packages of mustard, and mustard's like 5 calories. So I didn't even track it.
Yeah.
But I've got a big, giant sandwich for my lunch. That's my lunch. And then when we come home, I've got you can see here, there's boneless, skinless chicken breast, peppers, onions, extra virgin olive oil, shrimp, and steak. And you might be wondering, like, what the heck are you making? We're just making kebabs. It's so easy. We've already got them prepped. And then what you'll notice at the bottom is 4 coolers. because I'm going on the boat. I'm going to have some alcohol today, and that's okay. So I want to show you what I've done here. So I prepped myself a little bit. I don't love meal prep anymore because it drives me into that disordered eating feeling. I start to feel restricted, and then I'm likely to binge. So I don't do a lot of meal prep, but on a day like today, where we're going to be outside all day long and coming home right at dinner time, and I'm going to have 4 coolers. So I don't know when I'm going to spread them out. I don't know if I'm going to be feeling like making dinner. So what I did before the podcast this morning was I prepped my beef. I weighed and measured everything. I know that there's going to be 6 adults, so I'm going to do my best to have approximately a 6 of this. That's intuitive eating. I don't have to measure my individual portion. I just am eyeballing, okay, well, am I having about an equal portion of this total portion of beef? I prepped well, I didn't prep it, it's defrosting, but we've got a boatload of shrimp. We've got a boatload of boneless, skinless chicken breast that was previously frozen. We've got a big bowl here of all of my prepped veggies. I just cut up a boatload of veggies, threw a little bit of olive oil into it. And let me tell you guys, like I get a lot of slack sometimes. This is why I feel like I almost have to explain myself. I get a little bit of slack sometimes from other people that I know in the health and fitness industry. And they're like, I can't believe you eat that way. Like, do you actually eat that way? Or is this just like something you show? You guys, this is exactly how I eat. And how most of my clients eat. I've got lots of clients who prefer to eat much more clean. They prefer to eat way less processed food, no deli meats, things like that, no nitrates. They choose to have low sugar or low carb. But the fact of the matter is, I allow them to eat whatever they want. There's no restriction with my program. There's no foods off limits. There's no list of approved foods. I want to teach them what makes up the food that they eat so that they can make the choice that's right for them. And as long as they're working on their mindset and moving their body, they will have those results. And I also want to touch on the fact that, once again, I did bulk. So I couldn't eat this way before when I had a higher body fat percentage and a lower muscle mass percentage. Today, with more muscle on my body, I can eat like this. I can have those drinks and have them not affect me because my body is burning more calories today than it was all those years ago.
I love watching that. I love all the food that you prepared. Like, your day looks really fun. And like, was it easy? Did it take long to get that ready now?
It took me like an hour before we got started today, but I mean, that it sounds like a long time, but that hour is prepping. Like, we have company right now. That hour is prepping for my 2 kids, myself, my husband, friends of ours, their kids. So an hour to prep lunch for 1 billion people and dinner for a bunch of people. That really wasn't that challenging at all. And then look at these guys, while I was in the office getting prepped, they cleaned my kitchen for me. So, you know, it was great. Thank you, men.
Awesome.
I appreciate that. So again, we are all going to have our different styles of eating. And the thing is, you've got to find out what's best for you. The one thing that I really want to touch on, you guys, is, yeah, that was a lot of food. Yeah, somebody might think some of it's junky, but it's not really. I mean, we're having vegetables and protein for dinner. That's it. There's a little bit of olive oil on there, but that's it. I hit 143 grams of protein today. All through food.
Really great.
No supplements. No protein powders, no protein chips. Trust me, I have them. They're here. I love my.
But you didn't need them.
But I didn't need them today. I didn't need them at all, because if you notice, my snack, my lunch, my dinner were all high in protein. So, choose those, and particularly because I live on a lake, a lot of my clients who are local, that's where they struggle, is, what do I do on a boat day? What do I do on a beach day? Like, how do I stay on track? Well, you can choose snacks that are high in protein. The watermelon is super low in calories, but very satisfying. The snap peas are actually high in protein and fiber for a vegetable. So, that's going to be really satisfying. And then the meat and cheese and crackers, well, those do have a little bit of fat in them, but we all know that fat keeps us feeling full. So when I'm on a boat for the whole day, that's going to be a great way to keep myself feeling full. And I'm going to be active. We're going to be surfing today. So I'm going to be using my legs. I'm going to be wrapping that sprained ankle so it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah. Be careful.
I will.
Fun though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, I don't feel deprived. I don't feel like I'm overindulging. I feel like it's the right amount of food for me. And when I put it all into my Fitness Pal this morning, I was like, like, whoa, I don't know if you guys saw that when I shared my screen. I was within 20 calories of my goal.
That's
Just by
amazing.
intuitive. And I didn't weigh and measure everything. I just know, okay, well, there's 12 people eating this big bag of cheese. So I'm going to do my best to eat approximately 1/12 of a serving. Yeah. Not exact, but that's the thing. You don't have to be exact. You just have to get it close, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And Nora, you've been doing intuitive eating too, right?
Yeah, I can share a similar story of, I've been reversing for a while. I go up. I like to walk around lean year round. I don't like to bulk necessarily. I'll go up. I like to go up about 5 pounds, 7 pounds, and then go right back down. And even for a long time, that was really hard for me to do. Just because I'm used to being small. I like to be small. That's like I like a lot of muscle, but I like to be small. So um, when I first started my journey and my coaches were giving me these crazy macros, it was really hard for me to hit them. And it was really hard for me to, again, bulk and have them say, like, you need 130 grams of carbs. I was like, oh, 130 grams of carbs with 130 grams of protein, like right there, that's like 1,500 calories, well, 1,400, but like that's crazy amounts of food. So I did it for a while. Again, guys, I want to stress, Jenny, Holly, we all say the same thing. You need to know to reverse diet. So many clients that come to me are like I used to be. I have 20 years on both of these girls, I think, I'm 50. So I've been doing this for a while, and probably in my 30s. My To be small, I always thought you just had to keep cutting calories, keep cutting calories, keep cutting calories. I have 6 babies, so after every baby, I would cut my calories again. And it doesn't work anymore. You can't live in that deprivation. So slowly I learned to reverse diet. I am a gigantic junk food, sugar tooth person. I was raised that way. I'm Italian. That's how I eat. But what I see with my clients, so my first thing with my clients when they come into me is to understand how they eat. You have to know whether you have a sweet tooth, whether you are a fat eater. There are people who come to me who want their alcohol, like Jenny said. There are people who come to me who want their cheese. I personally am a low fat, low carb protein eater. That's how I get by. I do Whenever anyone comes to me, intermittent fasting was the thing for me. I don't do a typical intermittent fasting. I do a lean gains protocol, which says that I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day. I am in the gym by 4:30, 5 o'clock to do my own lift before I have clients. I usually run. So I do a lift, a run, or a run and a lift every morning. And that's usually, if I were really intermittent fasting, that would be on zero food. But I can't do that, or else I would be cannibalizing my muscle. So a bunch of me and my coaches follow a lean gains protocol. This was developed by Martin Burkhan. It says that while I'm in my fasted window, I do pre-workout before I work out. And then I do my BCAAs, my branched chain amino acids, 2 scoops in a gallon. My eating window doesn't open until 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So when people, specifically clients, come to me and are active before their food window should open, that's what I recommend, right? A normal intermittent fasting is nothing by mouth except black coffee or water during your fasted window. I always do a 16-8 window. I'm fasting for 16 hours. I'm eating for 8 hours. And within that time, my macros will always shift. I am a much more intuitive eater. There are some days I want to eat a lot of food. There are some days I don't want to eat a lot of food. If I'm maintaining my weight, I go with a 40-40-20 split. If I want to gain muscle, I go with a 50-30-20 split. That's 50% protein, 30% carbs, 20% fat. And if I'm in a gaining phase, I want to be at 30% protein, 50% carbs, 20% fat. Obviously, my 20% fat never goes anywhere. That's just how I eat. I do, if I'm cutting, if I'm at that 50, 30, 20 split, then I will always add in a refeed day, which is a day that I don't really care what I eat. So if I want M&Ms or if I'm going out or whatever, I don't like to be that person that shows up to say, I can't eat that. Specifically with my
Right.
dad, if I ever showed up to my father's table and said, I'm sorry, I can't eat that, he would slap me across my face. So, I
Traditional
have to
Italian
be
family.
really flexible. And with having the kids too, I
Yeah.
will say, just because I'm a snackier eater and because I'm an intermittent faster, um, my first meal is usually about 600 to 700 calories. I get screamed at for that. That's not like a normal way to open a window, but I'm starving. And that usually looks like something like my eggs, um, sometimes it's yogurt with cereal in it or something like that, like a high protein. But then, of course, I'm going to add in I'm obsessed with my little protein puffs.
Right.
I'm obsessed with these are pure protein. These are brick oven pizza, guys.
I haven't
What
had
make is that? What make is that?
Pure
It's
protein.
pure protein.
Oh.
Can we just talk about this? 4 grams of carbs.
That's incredible.
Wow.
5 grams fat, 130 calories. Say what?
I love
Like
that.
I
That's a
swear.
boat snack right there.
Oh my God. And I am an ambassador for Quest. So
Yeah.
Quest chips too. I live on
And
these.
loaded tacos, that's my favorite.
Well, you know what I do with these? Like when I'm making dinner for the kids, we don't do taco shells anymore. We use these as like our taco shells and we just kind of dip into the ground beef or whatever.
Yeah, we
So
do a lot of
I'm
like
not,
nachos with those too, like throw ground beef and
yeah,
salsa on.
so good. It's so good. So I'm kind of more of a supplemental person and I kind of try to introduce that to my clients. Like, look, you're getting, way too much fat or you don't feel good. My thing is that when people are tracking, I want them to feel good. And if I can relate that they feel bad or they have more inflammation when they eat more carbs, specifically junky carbs and sugar, I want to teach them how just trading out, if you're a chip person, just trade it out for something a little bit more low carb, a little bit more low sodium, whatever, to make yourself feel better and start making the relationship between how you feel when you eat.
And get
Because
that
our
damn water
food,
if you're eating high sodium. Like get that damn water.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hit the water. Yeah.
Yeah. And like when I go low carb, I mean, I learned this from my coaches. When I go low carb, when I'm severely low carb, I have to pump up my sodium. I think 2 weeks ago, my sodium was at 7,000 or 8,000 milligrams to 2 gallons of water per day. But that's just to fake that water into your muscles so that you don't feel completely weak.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I try to give people all these kind of tips, but I really do eat intuitively. I know if I'm on a 12-week competition and I only do public competitions, there's no pressure. I'm not getting on a stage or whatever. So it's kind of like a little bit less pressure. Um, but it helps me see the science so that I can explain to people, um, you know, how the science of carbs and how the science of protein and fat and manipulating sodium and all that stuff works. And I always stress to people, guys, more importantly, when you track your food, like just be aware of your food. But when you track it, not only be aware of your macros, but look at your micronutrients as well. Look at your fiber. Jenny talks about this a lot. Holly talks about this a lot. Make sure you know what your fiber numbers are. Please look at your freaking cholesterol. Holy Jesus, please look at it. And you don't have to specifically worry about it. Like if you have, I'm a huge fish eater. When I do shellfish, the cholesterol is really high. You don't have to worry about that if you have cholesterol numbers. But it always boggles my mind when people come to me with the crappiest blood work and don't understand what their food is made of. It's a really simple thing. So just make sure whether you're using Lose It or MyFitnessPal that you just click on your day and understand what those micronutrients look like as well as the macronutrients.
And
And
I love that you brought up fiber because fiber, as a very flexible, no restriction coach, fiber is my insurance that my clients will eat some healthy food because you can
right.
get actual fiber from those fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans and legumes, things like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really, really important. And I think, again, I want to make sure that I feel well. There are times that I feel well being high protein. There are times that I feel well being low protein. So I go much more. I don't recommend that anyone change their macros. For myself, I always give myself a 2-week window. So my macros will stay wherever they are and my calories will stay wherever they are for 2 weeks. That's how I determine my baselines. And then I'll only go up or down by 25% and wait another 2 weeks to see how my body responds to it. But that's a great way to teach yourself how to reverse diet. So many girls come to us, and I know that we all see this. Women who come to me like, I'm eating 800 calories. Here's my meal plan. I'm like, you're what?
You're more
Like,
kind than I don't even reverse diet them. I bring them right up to where I think they are. And I'm like, you're going to gain for a couple weeks, okay? And then it's going to level out. Don't freak out. Just trust me.
I think that's
it
an
must be the
interesting.
baby mama and me. I like to see how it works out.
Totally.
I
And
do think that's it is important to talk about how that feels when you have to say to people, because I have a lot, I have a lot of clients that need to lose weight, and that's pretty straightforward, and they're going to have pretty extreme results pretty quick, because when people have a lot of weight to lose, they look different quickly. But I also have a lot of athletic looking, slim looking clients who come to me to gain strength. And to do that, we've got to up their protein, because only protein can build muscle, but also we need to be able to up their fuel intake to be able to train harder and have the energy.
Right.
And for a little while, for some people, and I know I've had to do this, you're going to look a little overweight perhaps for a little while, because it's kind of like when I worked with the racehorses, the ones that you'd put them out for the winter to eat all the grass and they would look as fat as houses, and then you would bring them in to start racing, and the ones that had done the best through the winter and eaten the most, they seemed to come on better for the racing season, even though they seemingly had more fat to lose. So it isn't just about that, it's about how your hormones respond well and all of that. But mentally helping people understand, my slimmer athletic clients that want to develop strength and change their body composition,
Right.
they have to gain a little weight for a little while, and that may not feel good. And I understand, because when I had to bulk from October till May, I'd been bulking, and it meant at Christmas time, and I was actually eating what I would call clean foods, because my whole obsession is to grow muscle, and I didn't really need a lot of crappy foods, because I'd tried that before and not put on muscle. So I was eating a lot of oats, a lot of potato, a lot of rice, a lot of this stuff, which is good stuff. But in my Christmas photos, because obviously we're on the internet promotional all the time, my photos, I didn't recognize myself. I had like a fat tummy, and I had no definition in my shoulders, and my face kind of looked bread pudding, as my friend would say. And I wished that I felt like you were saying, Jenny, I felt like I had to explain myself to the public, perhaps people that didn't know that I'm a bodybuilder. I wanted to say to them, hey guys, I know how to be really ripped. Like, I'm deliberately growing right now, and this is not me just going off the wagon. But then I thought, no, I don't have to do that. It's okay. People will judge, whatever. I know what I'm doing. And so it's important for people to see that I can handle my body when I'm large and in charge, or when I'm ripped and small. And I love my body in all its different phases. And that's what I say to my clients. Just because you want to change doesn't mean you have to hate the way you look now.
Right.
You want to make some adjustments, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to the shop in a crop top because you're feeling super lean, or you're growing right now and you need to put on muscle and you're looking bigger, well, maybe your bum's looking amazing, because my bum looks great when I'm bulking, because a lot of carbs go there and it looks like I've got a big bum. So I'm like, okay, I'm making the most of my big bum. My boobs look bigger. So I try and focus on the positives of those. But it's important, isn't it? If you really want to change, you have to get uncomfortable in whatever way that may be. If you really want to lose body fat, you're going to have to say no to some things. And if you really want to gain strength and muscle, you're going to have to put on some weight. And I also wanted to say, like Jenny and Nora are talking about intuitive eating, which is a marvelous way to be. But you guys, it's taken you guys some learning and some years, like not just to understand foods, but you've actually developed and built your bodies and changed your body compositions, because
And how to listen to our
Right.
bodies.
yeah, because like if I have a new client come to me tomorrow, and or if my client's watching this episode, and they're going to, sure that I'll tell you, they're going to say to me, Holly, I want to intuitively eat now. And I'm going to be like, well, when you came to me, you were trying to intuitively eat and it didn't work, because you have to learn, like you guys have
to
learned.
understand the science. Yeah. And there is, listen, there's a science of achievement to eating. Somebody who comes to me, like Holly says, if you have a client that comes to you with an athletic build and wants to gain strength, they cannot intermittent fast. You
No.
cannot do intermittent fasting when you want to gain strength. You can do intermittent eating, which is what my coaches also put me on. But we've been through all different phases to understand. There's the science of achievement, understanding how the science works. That is paramount. The second piece to that, like Tony Robbins always says, is the art of fulfillment. Where are you happy? But if you don't have every single piece of that science, which is where a coach guides you, then you can't really have the art of fulfillment. Because yeah, you'll be fulfilled eating your carbs and being carb heavy, but you won't understand the science, how to back it down, or how to reverse yourself, or how to shred. I have so many clients that think, they'll go off and they'll do their own thing and they'll work the system, but it all works in conjunction, doesn't it? With like how we're adding in HIIT cardio, if we're adding in steady state cardio, if we're building during lifts, if we're doing a 20 rep workout, a shred workout, like it all works as that science of achievement. That's why coaches come in handy. We've been with coaches now for what, guys?
Ever.
Ever since I started weight training. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I tried to do intuitive eating even just a few years ago. Like 3 years ago, I tried, and by the end of the summer, my jeans got very tight. So I obviously didn't do it accurately. I thought that, I've been counting macros for 3 years now. I should definitely be able to intuitively eat. I'm just going to try to not track this summer and see what happens. I deserve it. I've been working so hard. And I was like very mindful of my protein intake at every meal and snack, and that was basically all I was doing. But clearly, I was not accurate at eyeballing those fats and those carbs, because I gained at least a pant size over that summer, which is significant when you've reached that body composition goal. When you're like, just like, oh, you're saying, Holly, when you're bulking, and I've got half a dozen ladies bulking. So I'm so glad that you talked about bulking today, because some of them do feel very uncomfortable in their skin when they start to notice some body fat coming back on. And I'm like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I know it's really hard to wrap your mind around, but it is such a good thing, because it means that you're also gaining the muscle. And I can see it. I can see it in their shoulders are getting bigger. Their back is getting more defined. They're actually leaning out a lot in the core area. They might get a little bit of lower belly fat happening, but in that upper core area, I'm noticing that even though they're bulking and gaining weight, they are leaning out in that upper belly area. So I'm like, just focus on that win. Wear that crop top with those high-waisted pants if it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we have to address too, I think, with intuitive eating, when people hear intuitive eating, they hear this liberating, free, like intuitive eating takes a long time. The biggest myth with intuitive eating is that, like, I think people interpret it to say you can eat what you want. Like that's not really it. You have to know what your portion looks like, what a realistic portion of protein is, what a real size of carbs, what a real serving size of carbs looks like all that stuff comes into it too. So if you don't know your serving sizes, that's very important. When you're bulking, it's also really important to remember there's no way to just gain specifically muscle. You will gain fat with that muscle. That is a necessary evil, people. You can't just gain muscle. That's the biggest myth out there. So many people are like, well, I just want to gain muscle. Well, so do freaking I, but like that. That's why reverse dieting and understanding the science is so important. It's so important. And to be patient with yourself and remember, this is a journey towards self-confidence, not towards self-hatred and self-loathing and beating the crap out of yourself in the gym and restricting your food and like, oh my God, Nora said portion sizes. Like I have to worry about my portion size. No, just like it's just like in school. We went to school for how many years? 12 years. We don't stop just because we're adults. It's like a learning curve all the time.
And what I love, I think all three of us might share the same sort of belief or internal subconscious thing that it's not about the destination. It truly is about the journey. Yes, all of our clients have body composition goals, but I think it's more what you learn about yourself and who you're becoming in the process. It's becoming that higher version of yourself, and that higher version of yourself does have those body composition goals accomplished already.
Right.
Yeah. And guys, it's really important too. Like if you're watching us, I always tell my clients, like, be 100% honest. That's what coaches are for, right? Like we're invested in soulmate clients, which means that we are the mirror. When you look in that mirror, it should be us. And we should be able to say to you, okay, this is what we see. This is what we can improve on. But likewise, we need you guys to be honest. What are you really struggling with? What do you really not like about your plan? What would you like to see more of? Like those kind of things. So we can help you work it. We've worked the science backwards, forward, sideways, every way else. So that's what a coach does. Can you buy all these meal plans online? Yes. Can you buy workout plans online? Yes. You guys know that I train with a lot of public profile people as well, but because I've worked the science and I understand what they're talking about, I've also learned to be accountable to myself. And that's what this journey is about, is becoming accountable to yourself to bring yourself, like Jenny said, to that higher level. And it really is about self accountability, not being accountable to me. We're
It's
just,
responsibility.
we're like kind of the explainers, right? We're the kind of like textbooks where you like want to flip to page 72, like ask us, because we've been there.
And isn't it, sorry, I was just going to say, isn't it worth looking at you guys? Isn't it worth investing the time? See, look how both of you and me have like developed our bodies over the years, where like Jenny's now in a position where she can intuitively eat and exactly hit her macro goals without weighing stuff, just by but she knows how, she's taken the time to learn how her body responds. She's built more muscle mass than fat mass, so now she's built to being able to eat 2,500 calories without gaining fat. That doesn't happen straight away. And that's why it's worth investing the time. Sometimes my clients think maybe they've been with me 15 weeks and they're like almost ready to give up because they think, well, I've reached a plateau, I'm never going to change. That's not true. And I actually said to someone this morning, if the scales had gone right down by 10 kilograms and your body still looked the same as it does today, would you feel happy? The answer is yes. And that's funny. Well, it's because she wasn't so happy because the scales had stayed the same, but her body looks great. And I say, like, well, then take the scales out of the equation, because actually this whole thing is about enjoying the way you look. And it's a bit like, when people are really hung up on their age and they suddenly think, oh my God, I'm 60, I can't do something now. And I'm like, well, but what if you didn't know how old you were? What if you never had your birth certificate? Right. Like how it's all mindset.
All of it.
The limitations that we put on ourselves based on what we think we should look like, it all comes a lot of the time from external. So we look at the scales and we're like, oh, that number makes me unhappy. But before I knew that number, I actually thought I looked pretty good today,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, forget about it, because actually I'm really helping my clients. I don't even want to hear from my clients on check-in day until they have thought about some positive things that have happened all week. And I want them to tell me about it. So, how many push-ups were you able to do this week that you couldn't do last week? Like for some people, just being able to bend all the way forward and touch their toes, and they couldn't do that like 4 weeks ago because their belly was in the way. They didn't have the flexibility. And your health is from the inside out. You don't even know, like, you're changing the composition of your body, taking a lot of stress off your heart and your liver and all this stuff that you can't see what's happening inside. So it's never a wasted day when you're paying attention to what you eat and how you move. It's all, like, I see it as your pension scheme for the future. This is the real wealth. It's not really about putting money in the bank. Every day, the sooner you start training and thinking about food, that's your pension fund now. And you're depositing every day into it, right? It's worth it. It's worth it. And you're never going to go backwards. You know, just because you're not happy with the scale today, or
I don't know why
you ate.
do people really still use scales?
Well,
Is
I
that a
was
real
actually
thing?
thinking, I know what I do still use scales as part of my check-ins process, but I was actually almost thinking about, we don't, maybe, you know, it's an idea for the
Yeah, I do
future.
measurements every week for my clients. And it's so funny because I worked this morning and I trained this girl, and she's been with me. I think this is her 14th week with me. We went to grammar school together. So she's like, I just love her so much. And she's had this crazy transformation in 12 weeks, like crazy. Like all of my other clients are like, holy crap, her skin looks amazing. Like she's whittled down to, like her waist is so tiny. So, but the whole time I'm like, what is happening with your boobs? Like they are not moving. I don't get it. Like, how do you, because my boobs are the first thing to go. So I'm just jealous. You know what I mean? Like I'm like trying to gain boobs. And today I took out the tape measure. We're doing our thing. Her chest was down like an inch. Her waist was down 1.5 inches. And that's already after she's lost like 4 inches in her weight. Like it's crazy. And I said, oh my God, this whole time we've been saying like your boobs are going nowhere. Your boobs are going nowhere. But guys, this is like living proof. Muscle takes up less space than fat.
Right.
Fat weighs less on a scale. So if you keep getting on the scale and you keep wanting that number to go down, okay, that number will go down, but you're going to have more body fat.
Yes, you're going to lose your muscle. A lot of people get really confused about this. They're like, muscle weighs more than fat. No, it doesn't. But 1 pound of muscle only takes up this much space. 1 pound of fat takes up this much space. So you don't want that number on the scale to go quickly. If that number on the scale goes quickly, you're losing muscle, you're slowing your metabolism, you will have to eat less food eventually. If you lose inches and the fat takes up a lot of space and the muscle only takes up a little bit of space, then you know that you've seen fat loss. Particularly if you see the inches go, but the scale remain the same, that's actually the best case scenario, because then you know you've only lost fat and you've retained or potentially grown some of your muscle. I do have my clients weigh themselves every single day. But the reason I do is because then they notice the fluctuations are normal and expected. And if they see, like for me tomorrow morning, if I am going to eat all this sodium from all this deli meat and pepperoni sticks today, and I'm going to have 4 alcoholic beverages, guaranteed that scale will be up tomorrow. Guaranteed. Up from sodium, up from alcohol. Right. But I know that because I've been weighing myself every day for ages. I don't anymore, but I make my clients initially.
Yeah, it's really important to understand like that. That's why I really don't use scales. I mean, I fluctuate, like Jenny said, if I did my salt and all that, like on my refeed weekends, I get on the scale on Monday, I'm like 6 pounds up. Yeah. And people would normally freak out, right? They go do 5 spin classes and run and do all this stuff, like burning all that muscle. Like, no. Just let it go. It'll disappear. And just make sure that you stay. Guys, it's really important because people are so fixated on the nutrition part and the diet part and all this bullshit. Abs are made in the kitchen. Yes, abs tell you really realistically what percentage of body fat you're at, but lifting heavy and gaining muscle is really paramount to all the nutrition stuff that we're talking about. If you're not working out and you're going to try and follow our advice for nutrition and all this stuff, it's kind of like they go hand in hand.
Wow. Absolutely.
Totally agree. It's been really, really interesting, this episode. I've learned a lot of information, and I think, it's really helpful. And one of the things that I liked that Nora really touched on there, and I do with my clients too, is like swapping things for things. So you want to keep your snacks, but swapping for a better version of it. Right. Like you showed really the protein important. Crisps, and like a lot of my clients really like the like Greek style yogurts, but you can get really high protein versions of them. We have a lot of UK makes, and some of them are like 20 grams of protein per pot, So instead of your normal Greek yogurt, get the high protein version, A lot of my clients eat jellies. You can get these little jelly pots, which they're super low calorie, but they really taste really sweet. And yeah, you know, just swapping things like you just said about the wraps that you use to make instead of normal taco shells. Like the thing is, it's going to probably taste the same or similar, but your body will make use of it in a different way. So like mentally you feel like you are having whatever it is that you really want, like a particular make of donut or whatever, but it's actually, you know, and later down the line, which is where I think I'm at now, and to me, I call it food adulting, is just I've made the link in my head between what you said, Nora, feeling good. So I used I used to just think, I love French bread. I want to have it. I like how it makes me feel. I want to have it. But actually it did affect me really badly. I just used to get bloated. I was almost allergic to it, really. So eventually one day, and I almost think I had like leaky gut, certainly to a point from having so much of it. One day I was just like, that makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad in my body more than I want to have it. So I suddenly was like, okay, then maybe I have something else. And it's and I think that's almost like a metaphor for life. You know, when we keep doing something bad, it becomes abusive, and they're like, well, how about you just stop doing that to yourself and do something else? And it's like, okay, maybe I'll try that, you know. And suddenly you're like, yeah, you know, because some people don't get on with tons and tons of gluten, or some people don't get on with whatever, coffee or something like that, but they keep having it because they mentally want it. And then eventually they're like, actually, I just feel better if I don't have it. And then suddenly,
and the thing is that, you know, like leaky gut, and like, you know, whenever you get onto Facebook or open up your social media, there's all these things for probiotics and all these things to fix leaky gut. It's like, just become aware of how you feel when you eat a certain food. And if you feel crappy, don't eat it. But you don't need to keep on adding all this shit on
to be able to still have it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like people come to me, they're like, I have leaky gut. I'm on this medication. I take Tums. I blah, blah. Like what?
Over researching and purchasing are very common forms of resistance. It's like you don't want to, your ego doesn't want you to actually find the answer. So instead, you're just going to throw money at it. And we all know that because people buy gym memberships and don't go, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
People like to overcomplicate things. And that's because sometimes it's really hard we're almost addicted sometimes to things that are bad for us in lots of areas of life, right?
Yeah.
And it can take ages to finally go, that one thing needs to go. It could be a person in your life or anything. And suddenly you make the decision to stop that or not do that anymore or whatever. And you're suddenly like, oh, you know what? Life without it is much better. And why didn't I do that ages ago? So that's the mindset part. And so there is however you eat, guys, and here are 3 very different ways for you to eat. It all requires some form of mindset in the first instance to go through the journey of learning what works for your body, when to say no, when to say yes, you know, what works for you. Like Nora said, she has this client that's shrunk down. You know, some people respond so great and other people take longer.
And she's still on crazy amounts of carbs. Like her food logs, I was, you know, like, because I have my clients post their food logs to me all the time just so I can kind of look through them. And I'm like, dude, the white rice is a little out of control. Like, you know, she was doing like 2 cups or whatever. And she's like, I don't care. I still look fantastic. I'm like, all right, good. Like, that's fantastic. You know, it doesn't make her feel like crap. She loves it. She said last night, she's like, I wanted more mashed potatoes last night. And I was like, give me more mashed potatoes, please. So it's finding, like, again, if you picked up Jenny's program, how Jenny eats or how Holly exactly eats or how I exactly eat, it might not work for you because somewhere in there, your relationship and your mindset is not going to be okay. It's like the people who come to me. I have so many people that come to me that say, I am never going to do protein supplements. They're bad for you. I don't like all the additives, blah, blah, blah. I get their food log and there's freaking Chips Ahoy, Oreos, whatever on it. And I'm like, wait, but I thought you didn't like additives. And I thought you didn't like artificial ingredients. So these things that we tell ourselves, this mindset that's been developed over years and years.
Beliefs.
Who would have thought that I would be eating pure protein puffs and thinking they taste good? Ask me when I was 20, I probably was like, gross.
Right.
energy, and I know how my body feels, and I've transformed into this muscular, like better version of myself.
Yeah, you look
These are the
amazing.
trade-offs.
Yeah.
These are the trade-offs that, you know, you make over time. And these are the things, but it took me really looking in the mirror, as it did all of us, looking in the mirror and saying, you know, what do I want in the future and what do I want now? And where is the compromise?
Yeah.
And
Just got
that's
to be
why it's a
honest with
journey.
yourself, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And can I just say, Jenny, all of my clients are doing 28s now.
Yeah.
When we did our podcast and we did our favorite exercises, I knew a few of them were like, I like 28. So I was like, right. So I had to watch it, and then I had to film it and set it as a demo video for them. So they're all doing 28s now, and they find them really hard.
I had a brand new girl, and I put 28s in her program, and she came to me in week 2, and she goes, I don't know if I can do my upper body. I'm just dead. And I was like, well, let me just look at your training log. She is 10 pounds. She hasn't worked out in ages.
Oh my
She
God.
all of a sudden used 10.
10
Why
pounds.
did you use 10 pounds? I'm like, no, you're dead.
Rear delta.
10 pounds is a lot.
Yeah.
Reps.
Yeah.
That would be why.
In a row.
Oh my
If
God.
you
But I
guys
thought you'd like to know.
more, make sure you watch the last episode where we went over our favorite exercises. The replays are all in our YouTube channel, 3 Chicks Walk Into a Bar. And I know that some of you are watching the replay. I can see those numbers, and I'm so excited that you are. I really appreciate everyone's support with watching and liking and commenting. You guys know that's how the algorithm works. If we want to send our message out to more people, we want more people to feel good in their skin, we want more people to be on the path to becoming the best version of themselves. Well, your likes and your comments you might not think are a big deal. They are. The more you like our videos, the more you comment on our videos, the more people will see our videos, and people will stop starving themselves, and they'll start realizing that they've got the power
Exactly.
on 2 ears.
Yeah.
And whatever you guys want us
we want
to cover.
strong, not skinny. Strong, not skinny.
And let us know in those comments, exactly like Nora said, like, what is that pressing subject that you want to hear about, that you'd like our perspectives? We have 3 very unique but very similar perspectives when it comes to mind, body, spirit, becoming the best version of yourselves, nutrition, exercise. What do you want to hear about? We will talk about it.
And even if we don't know the answer, we will definitely find it. You know, that's one of our favorite things. So I know that a lot of our audience doesn't know, but guys, like behind the scenes, we're like working for these podcasts to try and come up with our ideas, try and figure out the answers, try and figure out what you want to see. So whatever it is, you know, even if you want to send us something like anonymously that you don't want people to know that you want us to cover, like send it to us. That obviously there's no subject that we don't cover.
That's right. That's right. I love it. Well, ladies, I have enjoyed your time. I love all of the time that we ever spend together. I love seeing your different perspectives. And I think that is it. Any last words for our audience?
Take the time to get to know yourself. It is a journey that you will never regret. So get to know yourself inside and out.
And there's so much noise out there, guys, that want you to believe that that girl on Instagram, if you just follow her plan, you will be her. But like, you never see the journeys behind, you never know what anyone's been through, and nobody's journey is exactly equivalent to the person next to them. Once you find yourself, that journey is so much more rewarding, and it's a much faster track once you find out yourself and what you need to do for you to have it be fulfilling, and also, you know, really get to know the science.
Absolutely.
It becomes like second nature.
I love it. I love it. Well, we will see you all again in August. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And again, please let us know down below in the comments if you've got a suggestion for another subject.